Welcome to our series of AI literacy training sessions. This is the 7th in our series. Our first session looked at what is generative AI and how do we use it. We then looked at AI safety, followed by AI for accessibility, everyday AI tools, getting creative with AI, and then the impact of AI on assessment in further education. In this session, we're going to look at how AI tools can improve productivity. In this session, we'll look at how AI tools can act as a personal assistant to help boost productivity. We'll explore practical ways to investigate AI in our daily workflows, and we'll focus on routine tasks. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to consider the role of AI as an assistant and identify types of tasks that it can support. We'll explore how generative AI tools can assist with drafting emails, creating summaries, and generating content. We'll explore how AI is already being used to streamline various tasks. The goal is to provide practical insights into how AI can fit into your workflow and save time with boosting efficiency. In this first segment, we'll explore the role of generative AI as an assistant. We'll discuss responsible use and look at a few examples. AI can be a really effective assistant, helping us to get more done more efficiently. Let's talk about the benefits. AI tools can save us time by automating routine tasks, acting as a sounding board for ideas, and helping with planning and organisation. All of this means that we can spend more time focusing on critical thinking and creative work. This slide shows a scale of tasks where generative AI might be more or less acceptable, depending on the context and your judgment. Let's start on the left in the green section. Tasks like using AI as a research tool or for exploring concepts would be more acceptable. Then moving to the lighter green, AI can help with getting started, breaking through blank page syndrome by helping to create a plan or create a structure. It can also assist with basic emails, though we'd always be cautious with which data we input, and we're going to look at this later on. In the yellow section, tasks like translation or rewriting sections are possible, but always require human intelligence to review and refine the outputs. AI is a great helper, but isn't perfect. The same applies to creating images. It's effective for inspiration, but not always accurate or appropriate. When we move into the orange section, tasks like giving feedback on students' work become riskier. AI might assist with tone or general comments, but shouldn't be provided unchecked. Similarly, responding to sensitive emails involves complexities that AI may mishandle. Finally, over in the red, we can see tasks like marking work or critical responsibilities, such as health and safety assessments, for example. These would require human expertise and judgment. While AI might reference things like laws and health and safety, it won't fully grasp concepts and apply those regulations needed for such tasks as risk assessments. In the end, this is a scale, and it's about your judgment, thinking about what is acceptable, how tasks may work for you, but it's thinking about responsible use of AI. You might already be familiar with AI tools that are specifically designed for education, aiming on saving time. One example here is Teachermatic. We've completed 2 pilot studies with this tool, and our further education pilot showed that participants saved on average 3 hours a week on admin, planning and resource building. The way that the tool works, users simply input a prompt and the tool will generate content like lesson plans, CPD plans, multiple choice quizzes. Teachermatic has now over 90 generators. Essentially, it's designed for education and it's particularly useful for users who may be new to generative AI, helping them to create high quality content quickly and efficiently. This slide shows an example of Synthesia, a tool that uses AI to create video content from text scripts. For example, it has generated an avatar that you can see explaining the content that has been inputted. Then you can easily add images and make the video more engaging. I use Synthesia as part of our Introduction to Generative AI in Education online learning module. A significant benefit to this approach is the flexibility. For example, when information changes, as it does quite rapidly in the field of AI, I can quickly update the text and regenerate the video and replace this within the module. It has become quite a time saver. That said, this tool also comes with risks, such as the potential for spreading misinformation, so it's always essential to approach these tools with care and critical thinking.
Welcome to our Introduction to Generative AI in Education. Today we explore how these technologies are impacting learning and teaching. Note, this is just a demo to show AI-generated content. Generative AI impacts education significantly, offering opportunities such as assisting with the creation of learning material and challenges related to assessment integrity and meeting students' needs and expectations. Understanding the technology is crucial. Tools like ChatGPT are based on large language models, trained on a large amounts of information from the internet. They generate a unique response based on their training data and, depending on the tool, any information they have access to. In assessment settings, discussions tend to focus on maintaining academic integrity, as students may use AI to assist with writing essays or answering assignment questions. Generative AI is also a useful tool for educators, helping in designing lesson plans, creating quizzes, and drafting student feedback efficiently. However, understanding its limitations is vital. For example, AI may occasionally create inaccurate information or maintain biases present in the training data. Looking forward, the incorporation of AI in curricula must reflect its growing role in our professional and personal lives, ensuring that students are adequately prepared for AI in society and the workplace. Thank you for joining us. To find out more, join our AI community on Jisc Mail.
Now we've seen a snapshot of how AI tools can help with productivity, we're just going to have a quick look at responsible use. Data protection principles apply to AI, just like any other systems. Data entered should be adequate, relevant, and limited to what is necessary in relation to the purpose for which it's being processed. This is known as data minimization. You should always avoid inputting sensitive or unnecessary data into the AI tools. Aggregate or anonymize any data wherever possible. Now let's talk about environmental impacts of using AI. For instance, image generation tends to have a larger impact, so there are a few questions to consider. Ask yourself, does the image already exist? If there are lots of images of racing cars or cats and dogs, do we really need to generate a new one? It is important to note that much of the environmental impact occurs during the development of these systems, not solely from their use. Generative AI tools in particular have a tendency to have a higher environmental impact compared to other AI tools such as speech-to-text applications. This is just about using AI tools thoughtfully, as the carbon footprint also of a human being performing the same task has a carbon impact. Catherine in our AI team has produced an excellent blog looking at environmental responsibility and looking at the balance of utilising generative AI tools. Whenever you use an AI tool, it's really important that you evaluate the information that you are seeing. For example, if you produce content, it may be out of date, as the training data may have a cut-off date for the AI tool that you're using. Often, AI tools can become confused between similar entities, for example, different cities with the same name. It can misunderstand your query, so the questions that you're using think about. AI tools can make incorrect assumptions, and we know that they can have bias in the data, so then they generate biased content or provide unbalanced views. Use human intelligence and critically assess any content that you generate. In this segment, we're going to look at some practical examples which we could use. But firstly, we're going to have a quick look at using an AI tool to perform a task versus a traditional method. Let's think about how productivity can be improved when creating resources or content. Traditionally, we might use internet search engines like Google or Microsoft Edge to find content for a presentation. Then we would manually summarise this information to create the presentation and search again potentially for templates and additional resources to then move on to create a guide. In comparison, with an AI tool like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini, we can use a simple prompt to ask for information on a topic, then generate a summary and even a guide in a fraction of the time. This streamlines the process significantly. For our first example, I'm going to ask the AI tool, can you help me write an FAQ section for a university induction? My aim here is to have a list of questions and answers that my learners could see at the beginning of the year. As we can see, the AI tool has generated a series of questions and answers. Then I can ask what else should be in the FAQ. As we can see, it's generating more content with questions and answers. At this point, I would need to review the content and make sure it's suitable for my institution and my learners, and perhaps provide a bit more detail when I put this into a Word document or share it on my VLE. I could then ask, OK, please group by category, general information, academic life, and campus life. My aim here is to organise the questions so learners can jump to the section that they need nice and quickly. Taking the idea of FAQs a little bit further now, this is an example of LearnWise, a chatbot that is trained from a website. The example here is from Newport Talbot colleges, and they have the LearnWise chatbot on their website, and learners can engage with it by asking questions. This example, I'm into gaming, and the learner could learn a little bit more about a course that they may be interested in. It will provide them with links to the course information page. Chatbots can be used in this way to answer simple questions that is based on information, for example, on a website like this. A learner could then ask, how do I apply? The chatbot will review the content and the question and provide the information. Another example now, using an AI tool to write an email. The prompt I'm using is, I need to write an email to a guardian about their student's recent disruptive behaviour in class. The tone should be professional, yet empathetic. This is a good starting point. As we can see, the AI tool has generated the subject and the content. We would need to add in the detail and review this. Next, I'd like to develop this email. Can you adjust the email to include examples of behaviour and add a sentence about how we are committed to helping students succeed? Again, I would review this email, but for now, I quite like the content. To make sure it's the right tone and the right information, I could ask, can you polish this email to ensure the tone is formal and empathetic? And check UK spelling and any grammatical issues. Again, it will review the content it's already generated and make sure that it's empathetic. Using AI tools, we can actually use them as mentoring tools. So I ask, what did you change? So I can compare the previous version to the current version. And it's highlighted spelling, grammar, tone, clarity and flow. Again, a useful tool. We can also use AI tools to help summarise content. In this example, summarise my training notes into key takeaways and action points. I then copy and paste my meeting notes into the tool. Then Microsoft Copilot or an AI tool will generate this. So for example, key takeaways and then the important action points that I need to follow up on from my notes. Saving quite a bit of time as I can copy and paste that and create a plan for myself. We can also use AI tools in teaching and learning. For example, I'm planning a geography lesson for 16 and 17-year-olds on climate change. Can you help me draft clear learning objectives? As we can see, the AI tool has generated a series of objectives and also ideas that I could use as part of my teaching. I can then give it a bit more detail. Can you suggest a lesson plan outline for 60 minutes geography lesson on climate change for learners who are 16 to 17-year-old in the UK? As we can see, it's broken it down and provided timings for each area of the lesson. 15 minutes for impact climate change, for example. Moving on, we could use AI tools and assistants to come up with some ideas. So how can I differentiate my geography lesson for climate change for learners with different learning needs, for example? As we can see, the AI tool has given me a few suggestions, such as choice boards and sentence starters and flexible grouping. Just a few ideas that we could include in our teaching techniques. I could also use the AI tool to recommend some interactive tools or resources during the lesson. As we can see, the AI tool has suggested a number of websites, games, and even a virtual field trip. We could then click on these links, review them, and potentially use them in our lesson or outside of class. We can also use AI tools to help us deliver information. In this case, I'm going to use the tool Gamma, and I input my information about my lesson that I would like to deliver to my learners. So we have a number of slide suggestions. I could then change the type of content. So I can ask it to be brief, medium, or detailed. I could change the tone, and I can ask for the presentation format to be changed. In this example, it's used my prompt, so my information that I've input, and it's going to create my slides. I choose my template and then ask it to generate. As we can see, the AI tool Gamma has used my content to start filling in each slide. You can also use existing presentations and upload them into here and update the look and the feel of them. I would always say review any information, especially as it can generate the content as well from your prompt, but a nice starting point that I could potentially use in my teaching. We can change it, we can edit it, and then we can export it even into PowerPoint and then upload that to our VLE if we wish. We can also use AI tools for teaching and learning. Here is an example to create discussion topics. Can you help me generate discussion topics for a workshop on leadership skills? The AI tool has given me some titles and some questions that I could ask my learners. This could be in class or also over virtual learning environment. Then I can ask, can you refine the topics to make them suitable for beginners, thinking about different levels? Using the content that is already generated, it's now given me different questions that I can ask. Thinking about the learning journey, I'd like to add in a little bit more. So I can ask, can you suggest some more topics to add? And again, Copilot has given me a title and then some questions that I could ask. could then ask the AI tool to group them. So we could ask, please group them to guide the conversation. So each week or each session we could have a different topic, but take them through a journey. And as we can see, it's broken them down by understanding leadership or personal development. Again, we would review the content and we'd review the questions to make them suitable for our learners, but a good one to use. Creating learning activities can take quite a bit of time. Here I'm asking, can you help me generate learning activities for a workshop on critical thinking? The AI tool has generated content and suggestions like debate sessions, case studies, problem-solving challenges, critical thinking journals, and group discussions. It's quite good to add a bit of variety into teaching and learning. And here we have some activities and objective suggestions. Then I could ask, can you simplify the activities for beginners? And again, the AI tool will adapt the suggestions to suit a beginner level. For example, think, pair, share activity may be more suitable. Then we could ask, when we've reviewed these, we could ask for some more. So I could use the prompt, can you suggest more? Again, it's given me a few more suggestions. Picture analysis, for example, and we're sticking with activities and objectives. We can also ask the AI tool to categorise the learning activities. By using the prompt, please organise this by type, e.g. individual, group or interactive. So the AI tool is now grouping them into different sections. So I could go and have a look and then use these in my teaching. Creating MCQs is one that we hear quite often. Here is an example. Can you create MCQs for questions to assess 18-year-old learners' understanding of Newton's first law of motion? Can you help me craft some clear questions? As we can see quite quickly, we have a series of questions and answers, and then the right answer is there as well. I would always check to make sure this is correct. Then we could ask, can you suggest some realistic distractors for MCQs on Newton's first law that might reflect common misconceptions? Taking the questions a little bit further, as we can see, we have some questions and some answers. Thinking about how we can develop our learners and to make sure that they're showing their understanding as best they can, we could take this further. How can I ensure my MCQs on Newton's first law go beyond simple recall and encourage deeper understanding? As we can see, it has generated different sets of questions. So conceptual questions, application-based questions, where learners have to consider their answer before they just submit them. AI tools can be used as sounding boards, but also to create scenarios for assessments. In this one, I am creating an assignment for an A-level business studies course on marketing strategies. Can you suggest scenarios that require learners to apply their knowledge of marketing? Again, we can see that the AI tool has generated text and suggested assessment ideas. This is really where the thinking comes into its own, as it's suggested a topic, also a scenario called Ecotech, and different sections to the assignment, and then deliverables at the end. We could ask as well, can you suggest specific challenges this company might face in marketing their project and how learners might address them? As we can see, it's come up with a few suggestions. So marketing awareness and education, competition, consumer trust, and we've got some challenges here and some ideas that learners could then go and delve into. Then we could ask, how could I ensure this scenario allows learners to demonstrate their knowledge of marketing strategies and critical thinking? As we can see, it's given us suggestions of clear objectives and expectations, and with a clear rubric as well. Structured frameworks, templates, guided questions, real-world relevance, which is key at the moment, current trends, critical thinking, so variations of the scenario, collaborative work learning and peer review, where learners incorporate peer review as part of their process for their assessment, a reflective component with reflective essays and session feedback. We can also use AI tools to create rubrics. This example, I'm creating a rubric for a Year 2 undergraduate research project in psychology. Can you help me define the assessment criteria? As we can see, the AI tool has generated some assessment criteria with research questions and objectives, literature review and methodology. We could then ask, can you help me define some performance levels? Excellent, good, satisfactory or poor for the quality of literature review criteria. As we can see, the AI tool has given us different grades, depth, critical analysis, integration and relevance. Again, suggestions that we might review and use within an assessment rubric. We could then ask, please add some metrics and percentages. As we can see, it's given excellent, good and satisfactory and different percentages for each. Just a good starting point. We can also use AI tools to assist us in creativity. In this example, I'm going to use Canva and I'm going to use the free account. Thinking about creating a poster or a flyer, I ask a poster about generative AI and education. The idea here is that it will give me a template or a starting point that I could then adapt. It suggests some ideas of templates that I could use, and it's even got some text in there. So I can apply the template, review the content, so review the text. Using the magic write function, I can also change the text, so I can shorten it or lengthen it. As we can see, the AI tool has changed it. We could change the title as well. We could change the tone, exploring the future of artificial intelligence in education. I could then change the image if I wish as well. It's a good starting point. In this example, I would like to use Canva and their image eraser and replace tool. I'm thinking about creating some marketing material for a prospectus as an example. And I've got an image of a mobile phone being held by somebody. But actually I don't like the background that is being shown on that mobile phone. So I'm going to use a prompt, just a nice easy one. And the prompt's going to be dog smiling, as I would like to replace that image of a chart and replace it with a dog. So I erase out the image that is currently there and replace it with the dog smiling. Again, using AI tools to assist with creativity. There are also AI tools that can help us process and understand information. Here we have an example of Notebook LM, and I can upload content into here and it will look at that information only. I've uploaded, for example, 6 PDF documents, and I can set up a study guide so I can ask questions around that content, so we can see if people really do understand the information. As we can see, it's generated some questions and some short answers based on the topics that have been included. This is a different way of interacting with content rather than just reading it and assuming we understand. I could then ask questions around the content. So what are the downsides of AI, for example? And the AI tool will use that information I have provided and hopefully provide the answer. And as we can see, it's provided an answer and it will link to which document it has come from. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. We can click on that link and go and have a look in a bit more detail. We can ask as many questions as we like around this topic, but it's just a different way to interact. I could then ask, what does bias mean? Once I've read some information and taken it in. In a second, we'll also have a look at how this can create podcasts based on the information from those PDFs. Notebook LM will also generate podcasts. So I could use that, go for a walk with the dog, for example, and start listening to this information. Again, a different way to interact.
All right, diving into the world of AI today. And from the looks of your notes and articles, you're really trying to get deep into this.
Yeah, seems like you want to go way beyond the headlines with this one.
Definitely. We're going for a real deep dive today, uncovering the how and why of it all, especially with these generative AI tools everyone's talking about.
It's definitely captured everyone.
Sure. So let's talk about that generative AI. Seems like everyone's using it to write movie scripts, compose music, even create art.
It is.
What makes this type of AI so different?
Well, think about it this way. In the past, AI was mostly about analyzing information that was already out there. Generative AI,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
it takes what it learns and makes something totally new. Like going from, I don't know, using a calculator to having a conversation with a computer that can write you a poem, compose a symphony, or even paint a picture, right?
That's pretty incredible when you put it that way. And I recently saw an article, it was about a generative AI program that wrote,
Oh, wow.
and it was actually good. Like, shockingly good.
Yeah.
It was in the style of Bach.
Really?
But how does it even work? Can it actually be creative?
Well, I mean, creativity, that's a tough word, even when we're talking about people. Generative AI, it doesn't have thoughts and feelings like we do, right? So it relies on patterns, things it's learned from huge. Imagine you are giving the AI a crash course in music history. It learns everything from Bach to Beyonce, you know?
Wow.
Figures out those patterns and structures that make each style unique. Then when you ask it to create, it uses those patterns to make something that fits within that style. Sometimes it even surprises us, these combinations we wouldn't expect.
So it's not just mimicking, it's like it's actually taking what it's learned and recombining it in new ways.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But it makes you think, where's the line between, real inspiration and just imitation?
That is the big question, isn't it? It's a debate that's going on in the art world right now, for sure. AI is just another tool, like a paintbrush or a piano, something that can be used to help human creativity. Others, though, they're worried about, AI-generated content. Like, what happens if it floods the market? Will it drown out human voices and perspectives?
It's almost like we're trying to figure out how to use this incredibly powerful without, losing what makes us human, our own creativity.
Exactly, and it goes beyond just art.
Right.
Generative AI could change pretty much every industry. Education, journalism, finance, healthcare, you name it. So we really need to understand not just what it can do, but also what it means to use it, the implications.
Totally. It's like we have a tool, and it's up to us to figure out how to use it responsibly and ethically, right?
That's where it gets really interesting. Because AI is getting more sophisticated, so are the questions about how we develop it and how we use it.
It's about more than just the technology, isn't it?
It is.
It's about the people who create it, the data it learns from, and what kind of effect it can.
Yeah, you got it. And that leads us to one of the most important things about AI, the humans behind it all.
So we're talking about the humans behind AI. It kind of makes you think of that saying, with great power
comes great responsibility.
Right. Exactly. And with AI, it seems like that responsibility really starts with the people actually.
Yeah, it's like almost like raising a kid, You want to make sure they're learning the right things from the right sources, developing, a good sense of right and wrong.
That makes sense, but how do you teach an AI? It's not like sending it to school.
Right. Definitely a different kind of education. Remember we were talking about those AI models, how they learn from tons of data?
Yeah.
That data is textbook.
Okay, so then if the data is messed up somehow or biased, the AI is going to pick that up. It's like giving a kid a history book that's missing like half the chapters.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why getting that data right, collecting it, cleaning it, labeling it, it's so important in AI. If we're not careful, our own biases can...
Can you give an example of how that might happen?
Sure. Let's say you're making an AI for recruitment, right? To help companies find the best people for jobs.
Okay.
So you train this AI on resumes specifically from people who've been really successful in those types of jobs.
It's in so far.
But what if, now think back historically, what if those successful mostly men because of, existing biases? That AI, it looks at the data and might start to connect successful candidate with male. And that's how bias gets baked in.
Wow. It's like a vicious cycle, bias in, bias out.
Exactly. And that is why it's so important to have a variety of people working on AI from all different engineers, data scientists, but also, ethicists, social scientists, people who can spot those biases.
It's about having different perspectives, making sure we're not just repeating the same mistakes.
You got it. And it's not just the data either. How the AI is designed, how it's trained, even how it shows us the results, all that can make a difference.
So it's really complex, needs like constant attention and a real commitment to doing things ethically.
It is a lot to think about. But the good news is more and more people are realizing this, Organizations are putting together guidelines, best practices for doing AI the right way.
That's good to hear because AI has so much right.
Absolutely.
But we have to make sure we use it the right way.
I agree. And that brings us to the really exciting stuff, like what can AI really do when we get it right?
We've talked about the downsides and the responsibility, but what I really love is seeing AI make a real difference in the world.
It's one thing to imagine the possibilities and another to see it actually happening.
Exactly. Where in these articles, AI helping doctors, changing how we learn, even tackling climate change, feels like we could be on the edge of solving some really big problems.
There's a huge amount of potential right now. Like in medicine, for example, AI is already being used to look at medical images, find patterns in patient data, even assist during surgery. This leads to earlier diagnoses, better treatments, maybe even cures for diseases we thought were impossible to cure before.
It's like having this army of tiny little doctors working all the time to keep us healthy.
Exactly. And think about what it could do for education. AI tutors adapting to each student, their own pace. They're just personalizing what they're learning, making it way more engaging for everyone.
That would be amazing. Everyone would have the chance to get a good education.
Exactly. And it's not just about making things we already have better, right? AI is opening up totally new possibilities. AI-powered prosthetics, for example, giving people mobility, independence that they might not have had before. Or AI is being used to look at climate data, track deforestation, come up with ways to be more sustainable.
It's pretty incredible to think about what we could accomplish if we use AI the right way.
It is. But it's important to keep in mind AI is a tool, right? And just like any other tool, it can be used for good or bad. It all comes down to us.
We have to
guide its development and make sure it's used ethically to benefit everyone.
We have to be careful. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about us, our values, the choices we make as a society.
And as we go further into this new era of AI, it's more important than ever to have these conversations. Work together to make sure this technology makes us better, not worse.
I totally agree. It's been great exploring this with you. We've gone from the nuts and bolts of how AI learns to the ethics of generative AI and beyond.
And we've only scratched the surface. AI is changing all the time, and the possibilities, well, they really are endless.
So to everyone listening out there, think about this. Will you play in the future of AI? What questions will you ask? What choices will you make? And what kind of impact will you have? Keep learning, keep asking those tough questions, and keep diving deep into this world. Until next time.
Another example here called Grade. It's a digital assessment platform that was developed to address problems by reducing educators' workload around assessment, whilst enhancing feedback for students. As well as a streamlining assessment, the platform allows work to be set by educators, then is completed by students, and then marked and returned all in one place. Grade adds value by using AI to recommend marks and constructive feedback on the students' work. Now in the summary, we are going to consider what we can do to take some practical stages for using AI. Some practical strategies are: start using AI tools, find time to play with them, think about things that you would like to try, and explore what they are good at and also what they're not so good at.